Ladies and gentlemen, you may or may not remember this, but about a month ago, Antony Blinken and Joe Biden told everyone that Israel had 30 days to allow humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. And if they did not do that within 30 days, that Israel was going to, or the U.S. was going to withhold arms from Israel. At that time, I told you I didn't believe that. I thought they were buying time. I also thought they were trying to help out Kamala Harris with this election as well, to make it look like they're trying to do something, but they're really not. And I was right. Listen to this. My comrade Nick, he broke this down. We are calling out Antony Blinken tonight. First up on deck, Antony Blinken. Go for it, Nick.
The Biden administration will continue to send arms and munitions to the genocidal state of Israel, even though they know that Israel is blocking aid and using starvation as a tool of war. Last month, the Biden administration gave Israel 30 days to allow aid to continue to flow into northern Gaza.
But correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that what you guys said a month ago?
That is what we said a month ago, and that is why we laid out.
They have not yet met them, because you say that they have taken some steps, but more needs to be made. In other words, they have not met the criteria by the deadline, and you are giving them a pass. Is that, I don't understand. There's no other way to look at it.
No, I don't think that is true. That letter was specific about some specific areas where we wanted to see them take some additional steps.
Have you seen those steps?
We have seen some of those steps being taken. Yes, yes.
It didn't say some, it said all, right?
Matt, the point is...
This was such an obvious election gimmick designed to get people critical of the Democratic Party because of their genocide and criminal behavior into voting for Kamala Harris at the last second. Thank God these evil scumbags lost. What makes this even more deplorable is that Biden is sending arms and munitions to Israel when they know they are committing war crimes like using starvation as a tool of war is against not only international law, but U.S. law. Meanwhile, the Biden administration smears the American people as terrorists because they protest them in their criminal behavior. And because Joe Biden allowed Israel to block aid for so long, we are now witnessing a massive famine in northern Gaza. Never forget, the people who actually want to uphold the rule of law, the people who actually want to hold the terrorists responsible, are the pro-Palestinian protesters who continue to resist the Zionist regime.
That's right. Shout out to Nick there and Hotspot. Excellent video. But this is exactly what we predicted would happen, that they were not serious about that. They were never going to withhold any type of arms from Israel. Let's be real about that. And that was just them buying time and hoping that that would help them with the presidential election. I mean, they timed it down from like the very day, right? So just right after the election would end. Oh, if you vote for Kamala, this could happen, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And all of this is being exposed. And I know some of you are probably wondering, well, Sabs, why are you talking about this again? Because I want to talk about this as much as possible before January 2025. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are still in office right now. And there are a number of liberals that are trolling Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, saying, oh, ha, 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 you had a protest vote. Just wait till Trump gets in there. I just want to remind everybody what's happening right now under the Biden-Harris administration. They still have, a month and a half left, and they are still wreaking havoc, and people need to see it. Now, Antony Blinken recently gave a speech about this. Shout out to Jonta Reporter for this. Follow them if you don't, by the way. Jonta Ka Reporter, they're really good. Listen to the speech Antony Blinken just gave about Israel.
A straight face.
On the Middle East and on Gaza. Let me be very clear about both the intent and the effect of the letter that Secretary Austin and I sent a month ago to our Israeli counterparts. The intent was to inject a sense of urgency with Israel to take necessary steps to address the dire humanitarian situation of children, women, and men in Gaza. The effect has been that of the 15 steps that we urged action on. Israel has taken action, either in implementing or being in the process of implementing 12 of the 15 steps.
That's a lie. We're calling out the first lie. So the intent, and I want to correct him, the intent was not to put pressure on Israel. Okay, because you guys have supposedly been putting pressure on Israel this entire time, which I think we know is BS. The intent was to get people to come out and vote for the Democratic Party. That was the intent. They knew Gaza was a real issue for a lot of people. Theo said it earlier. A lot of young people did not show up because of Gaza. So you can't sit here and try to sell us these lies. You cannot sit here and sell this to us. So people have to understand Antony Blinken is a paid liar. Secretary of State, come January, Marco Rubio is going to be in this position. He's the one I think that Congress will not vote against. So we're going to go ahead and claim him for that position. And you're going to hear lies from him too, especially about this particular issue. It is Antony Blinken's job to convince you, the American people, that the U.S. government is doing everything in their power to get aid to Gazans, to make sure that as many civilians as possible are protected. Now, I'm going to show you a video after the speech to show you Antony Blinken is lying to you. This is what he does. He's a paid liar. And for whatever reason, he seems to preside over all these different wars. This ain't his first rodeo. He's been in DC before. He was involved with Afghanistan. So that's what these people are paid to do. Do not mistake the expression on his face. Do not mistake his, I guess, somewhat caring demeanor. He is acting. This guy is an actor. Okay. So he's paid to act. And that is what he is doing. So don't fall for it.
There are three big issues that still need to be addressed that come from the letter. First, making sure that when Israel engages in an operation and people have been evacuated from an area, that once that operation is done, it rescind the evacuation order so that people can return. And we can start to take down some of this horrific overcrowding that we're seeing in parts of Gaza where people have been sent to. So that's one. Second, we want to see, along with the humanitarian assistance that's getting in, commercial trucks getting in with commercial goods. This is vital because so many of the things that the commercial truckers bring in, including things like fruits and vegetables, are absolutely essential to the balanced nutrition for people in Gaza.
You weren't thinking about balanced nutrition when Netanyahu told you that they didn't want to allow the aid to come in. I'm thinking about the ones who do survive. What kind of diseases, what kind of illnesses are they going to have to deal with after all this is said and done? I mean, it's just the fact that he's like, we want them to allow the aid. He is admitting to your face that they know that Israel is not allowing the aid to get in. Now, there's something called the Leahy Act. And from what I understand from this, it is actually illegal for our country to send arms to another country if they're starving the people. And I would really press every single politician who is not in favor of what Israel is doing to push that. I don't want to hear we're working tirelessly for a ceasefire. No, they're not. They never were. They've been lying to you. That was just to buy time. It's like someone that's been staying at your house for like a year or so, and they tell you they've been looking for a job, and you don't see them fill out no applications. You ain't see them going to no interviews, and they've been there for a year or two, and they still say they still looking. We got to put two and two together. That is buying time. This administration, I want it to be remembered for one thing: genocide. That's what I want you to remember from the Biden-Harris administration. Genocide. Don't come talk to me about the Infrastructure Act, whatever. None of that matters. The child tax credit, which ended early, none of those things matter anymore. You are now known for genocide. And that includes Antony Blinken, that includes Kamala Harris, and that includes Joe Biden.
In turn, is critical to making sure they have the immunities they need to fight off disease. And that's not something normally the humanitarians do. This comes in through commercial means. The challenge there, in terms of restoring commercial trucking, has been a huge problem of lawlessness and looting inside of Gaza that needs to be addressed and that we're working on finding a solution to. That right now there are 900 trucks that are inside of Gaza at Kerem Shalom but backed up. They can't be distributed because of this looting and because of the criminality. So it's imperative that that be addressed. Israel has...
Pause. No, it can't be distributed because Israel is not allowing the food and the aid to come in. Second, to the point about looting, about people in Gaza looting trucks, how can you call it looting when Israel has attacked every restaurant, any type of business that would distribute food? How can you call it looting when the people have no food? Are you kidding me? So it's not the Palestinian people that are looting the trucks. They keep telling you this. They keep saying it's Hamas and da-da-da and all that kind of stuff. In reference to the IDF, if he's trying to talk about the IDF looting, no, just call it what it is. They are blocking aid. And they've known this and they can stop it, but they don't want to. Antony Blinken is in on it. He's been in on it from day one. They all have been pro-Israel. They have made it very clear to you that an Israeli life is more important than a Palestinian life. So much to the point that people had to make a song about this. You know, how do you feel? What kind of administration? And you let me know if there's been other songs made. But Macklemore has literally made 2 songs about this administration committing genocide. Hit songs too, by the way. All the proceeds are going to UNRWA for those songs. I mean, you got to be some kind of embarrassed. I don't understand how these people walk around in DC with their heads up. I don't understand it at all.
Responsibilities to do that. We're also working with Egypt. And then, in my judgment, maybe most significantly, we need to see real and extended pauses in large areas of Gaza, pauses in any fighting, in any combat, so that the assistance can effectively get to people who need it.
So here's another trap, another trick that people are falling for, right? When Antony Blinken tells you he needs to see real pauses so that the aid can get in. So they have been saying this for months. This is not new. This is another trick, right? So if you really want there to be pauses, you wouldn't continue to send them weapons.
There are huge challenges in that regard, but we've also seen real solutions. The polio vaccination campaign was the one thing that's been very successful in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of children got polio vaccines. But critical to success in doing that was having extended pauses for days, not simply hours, as is the case right now, to make sure that everyone bringing assistance in has the ability to bring it in and to distribute it and to have space to do that. So we will be working on this intensely in the days ahead. I'll be discussing this further with President Biden. And the responsibility that Israel has in terms of making sure that assistance to the best of its ability can get to people who need it is an ongoing responsibility. And I believe that the steps that it's taken over the last weeks to address what we had in our letter, those steps would not have been taken absent the letter. But it's also critical, as the letter made clear, that not only are these steps taken, but they need to be fully implemented and they need to be sustained if they're going to have effect. Yes, the last month has been terrible for people. The letter went out already. We were into October. We're starting to see, as I said, implementation of most of the steps that we've laid out. It will take some time for them to have an effect. And again, they have to be fully implemented. They have to be sustained. But even with that, I think it's essential that we see things like more extended pauses. Now, the hard bottom line truth is also this.
Here we go.
Even with all of these steps, the situation is so difficult and so dramatic that to fully redress it, to fully answer the needs of people, the best way to do that is to end the war. And from my perspective, what we've seen is this. Israel, by the standards it set itself, has accomplished the goals that it set for itself, the strategic goals it set for itself. It was rightly determined to make sure, to the best of its ability, that October 7th could never happen again. And to do that, it said that it needed to dismantle the military organization of Hamas and to get the leadership that was responsible for October 7th.
Let me pause here. Pay attention to the vocabulary that he's using. Number one, Hamas is not a military. Gaza doesn't have a military. Hamas is a resistance group. So I want to push back on that. And then two, you guys got to know, it's the same script every time. That Israel has a right to defend itself. Same script every time. So he says that those steps have been taken. Let's see what those steps look like. Okay. Because I'm going to show you about these games that people play. And right now that player is Antony Blinken. These are the steps that he's talking about. This is recent. Look at this.
The airstrikes come without warning. For some, it's enough. Time to leave again. The constant move to the promise of safety, which doesn't exist. They mostly walk in silence. Women and children watched by Israeli tanks and struggling under the weight of whatever belongings they can carry. Some can barely face it. They've lost the energy to keep fleeing a war that has no front line. In the panic to escape, these children have lost their mother. A sleeping baby has also been separated from her family.
This is what people need to see. I know it's hard to see it. But when you see that little girl say, mom, like crying, where's her mom? Where's her mom? Could you imagine living like this? They've been living this way for a year. So Antony Blinken says, the last month has been rough. No, the last year has been rough, Antony. It's been a year. He wants you to believe that it's just a blip. It's just a blip on the map. And it was just this past October. It's been a whole year. These people have been living this way. Kids are orphaned. If you're watching and you're a parent, how would you feel if it's your children? Forget about what color they are right now. Forget about what country they're in. Imagine if it was your child. How would you feel? Sometimes we got to do that. Sometimes we got to tell people, don't think about what color they are. Don't think about what language they speak. Don't think about what country they're in. Pretend it's your kids without their mother. This is what our government has been funding. This is what our government has been supporting. I don't know how many kids are orphaned in Gaza right now. But now other parents, other adults have taken these kids in. For those who do survive this, what is their life going to be like? What is their future going to be like? Do you think that little girl who was crying, saying, Mama, where's Mama? Do you think that little girl, when she gets older, you think she's going to forget about this? You cannot eliminate Hamas because it's an ideology. The U.S. government seems to think that this is just a group that you get rid of. The ideology remains because of what is happening right now. These kids remember. They don't forget. So even if Israel were to eliminate everyone that is a part of Hamas, you have a new generation of Hamas with the people and that's why they want to destroy them all. That's why they want the kids gone, because they don't want them there, because they'll remember. And there is that fear from Israel that maybe they may rise up one day. You think these people will never forget what happened to them? Hell, people don't forget losing their damn mom. People don't forget being orphaned. People don't forget bombs dropping over their head at night. People don't forget starving.
This girl was with her grandmother, an elderly lady. Her grandmother dropped her. We don't know who she is. All we know is how to help each other. So we are waiting here in hopes that her parents will come and take her.
Very sad. Very sad. And Antony Blinken, he wants you to believe that Israel is taking the steps that they laid out for them. This is what he just told you. They're taking the steps that we sent in that letter. The video I just showed you is recent. Does it look like they're taking steps to you? That was supposed to be a safe zone. The reality is there are no safe zones in Gaza. Nowhere safe. Antony Blinken is a murderer. Kamala Harris is a murderer. Joe Biden is a murderer. This administration, they are murderers. They are killing children. And I can't believe that this is even a question for all the liberals who pointed their fingers at people like me and said, I hope your Jill Stein protest vote was worth it because Trump won. I hope those of you that stayed at home are happy because Donald Trump won. Take that same attitude and throw it towards the Biden administration. I ain't got time for it. Take that same attitude and throw it towards your friend, towards the Democratic Party. Take that same attitude and throw that back towards the people who have allowed this to happen for over a year. I'm not on your team. You on the Dallas Cowboys, I'm on the Patriots. I'm not on your team. People have to understand that. If you can't sit up there and hold this administration accountable, you are in a cult. And no shade to those of y'all that like the Cowboys, but I'm just calling it like I see it. You know, sometimes some of you kind of be like, you know, we them boys, Cowboys going to Super Bowl this year. I hear that every year. We can never forget what this administration has done. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.